Like, I know that the Prime Minister has worked very, very hard in terms of what he secured in the Windsor framework. We always recognised the significant improvements that he made when he came to it. But of course issues remained, which is why we continued to have those negotiations and discussions with him. But we're in, I think, a much, much better place than where we were. What we achieved was something much more than people thought was possible in terms of bringing the EU back to the negotiating table. And the Prime Minister was, of course, absolutely key in that. So it was good to see him over.
Some viewers and listeners of talkTV sometimes see Northern Ireland as a bit of a drain on the UK taxpayer. They're not entirely sure of the point of the union, although many of them are unionists. You're certainly a unionist. What would you say to our viewers and listeners to convince them of the benefits of Northern Ireland being in the union?
Look, our United Kingdom is much stronger together as a unit. Look, we contribute a huge amount, not only in terms of our heritage and our history and the complexity of our identities, but of course in terms of commerce and business, in terms of our shared history, but even things like our armed forces. Northern Ireland contributes significantly more per head of the population to our armed forces than elsewhere in the United Kingdom. So we do make a really valuable contribution to the United Kingdom. I'm very proud of that contribution, and of course we want to do even more.
The DUP negotiated hard for the deal that brought Stormont back. You got an extra £3.3 billion, but within that, the idea was that Northern Ireland would raise some of its own money, £113 million. But you're saying that you're not actually considering revenue raising, and the First Minister has said there won't be any water charges for domestic water in Northern Ireland. How do you square that?
Well, this of course is the most common thing in the world. Every single country has regional disparities. There are centres of economic power, and there are other areas within any region that requires additional support. But of course in our United Kingdom, Northern Ireland does not get the highest per head of the population. That would be Scotland. Other regions of the United Kingdom do get more in recognition of the particular needs. Now, some of those needs are based on things such as geography, things that we can't change. But it's also based on the fact that there are a range of additional issues. There are differences that occur, as inevitably they will. So if you take Northern Ireland, it's not us saying that, look, our needs are greater, give us this money. That funding is based on an objective assessment of need by the economists in terms of our independent fiscal commission.
It's 26 years on from the Good Friday Agreement. Isn't it time Northern Ireland started paying its way?
As you know, the vast majority of taxes is the same across our United Kingdom. The people of Northern Ireland are paying the same income tax. Our businesses are paying business taxes and corporation tax. So that is the current position. We are paying our way. That money goes directly to the Treasury because of the additional need. So again, where is that higher public spending coming from? There's issues of economy of scale, but we've got higher levels of mental health issues, and that is a direct result of the legacy of the Troubles. We've got higher levels of chronic illness, and that leads to economic inactivity.
Your party propped up Theresa May's government from 2017 to 2019. Do you think the Tories are now toast?
Well, look, you say propped up. The reality is Jeremy Corbyn was the leader of the Labour Party. Jeremy Corbyn was never a friend of our union or of unionism in Northern Ireland. And indeed, it was the view of the DUP at the time that, look, what the country needed post-Brexit was some form of stability that could be achieved through the confidence and supply arrangement. Yes, we were deeply disappointed about what happened. We were very clear with Theresa May about what we needed, but we also, I don't think it's unreasonable, Peter, to expect that the Prime Minister of the country stands up for the integrity of your United Kingdom, the integrity of your single market. The integrity of the EU single market, of course, would never have been on the table for the European Union. Like, I think Theresa May has many, many strengths, but on the protocol, the backstop, she got it wrong. And of course, that continued into the next Conservative Prime Minister as well.
And would you work with Keir Starmer? Would you perhaps even enter a confidence and supply agreement with him if he doesn't get a majority?
Well, look, the reality is we will work constructively with whoever the Prime Minister is. That's what we've said throughout the process. We don't choose the Prime Minister, the political parties choose the Prime Minister, but we've always tried to work constructively. Have we been let down? Absolutely, but have we tried to work with the Prime Minister? And people sometimes criticise and say, well, like, why did you work with those Prime Ministers? But they're the Prime Minister of this United Kingdom. They had the responsibility and the role in terms of the Brexit negotiations. So of course we will continue to do so
Your party colleague, the former First Minister Arlene Foster, Baroness Foster, said that she would leave Northern Ireland if there was a united Ireland. Would you?
Well, I would say that I am not in the space of contemplating these types of scenarios because, of course, what I want to do is to work my hardest to ensure that that never happens. And I believe that Northern Ireland has a bright future, but it also has a bright future within our United Kingdom. And I am determined to work in whatever way that I can and in the role that I have to secure Northern Ireland's future in the Union.
So you don't think you'll see a united Ireland in your lifetime?
No, that would be my view, but of course, as indicated, like it's not something that I am contemplating because my life's work will be to secure Northern Ireland's future, a bright future for Northern Ireland, and in that future to be within our United Kingdom.
Joining me now, talkTV's chief political commentator, Peter Cardwell. Peter, good afternoon. Welcome to the programme. Excellent interview there that you landed. Tell us which are the most surprising elements of what Emma said.
Well, she certainly wasn't taking any prisoners in regard to saying that Northern Ireland, which gets a lot more than English taxpayers, I was kind of pressing her on this, saying, look, people in Blackpool and Darlington, places like that have very, very bad outcomes. I gave her at one stage, talked about, a bit you didn't see on camera, I gave her the outcomes and said, look, people in Blackpool, for example, usually live 6 years less than someone in Belfast. Why does Northern Ireland need all this extra money? £3.5 billion down the back of the sofa that Jeremy Hunt has. And Little-Pengelly pushed back. You saw in that interview, she was saying Northern Ireland has various needs, that it needs that extra money. But of course, we're all in a cost of living crisis right across the United Kingdom. So now Stormont behind me is back up and running after a 2-year break. There's lots of work to do, and there are lots of public spending commitments that she and the other ministers in the Northern Ireland Executive, its cabinet, want to make to get this part of the United Kingdom moving again.
And now that Stormont is up and running, and as you say, there's been this very long break where civil servants have been at the helm, and obviously not living there and not really being able to experience it for myself, I can't know whether there's been a profound effect on residents of Northern Ireland in the fact that they haven't had a government, they haven't had anybody doing anything except for civil servants. Or could it be that the civil servants have done a bang-up job and actually barely any difference has been perceptible in the lives they're living? What's it been like for them?
Well, the civil servants could only do certain things. You needed ministers and politicians to make big decisions like closing a hospital, opening another hospital, for example. And the health service is probably the best example of this. So Northern Ireland has the longest waiting times for health treatments. Everybody I've spoken to here in Northern Ireland over the past 24 hours or so, all my family and friends, everybody knows someone who needs a hip replacement, a knee replacement, even things like heart bypasses are taking a long time. So there's a clear need, not just for money to be spent in a different way, but for reform of the health service. And many of the problems that we've seen in England, Scotland and Wales are even more acute here in Northern Ireland, and there's a waiting list for about 15% longer here in Northern Ireland than the rest of the United Kingdom. So there's a clear need. There has been what some people call a democratic deficit, a lack of government for 2 years, and really for the last 26 years since the Belfast Agreement, there have been a lot of on-off Stormont in crisis kind of headlines, and now the 90 members of the Assembly are back here in Northern Ireland. People will be hoping that they can govern this place in much greater depth and making the kind of decisions that have really piled up over the last couple of years, Vanessa.
And how eagerly, enthusiastically, or any other adverb you'd like to employ, is Southern Ireland pushing for a united Ireland? We hear a great deal about what's going on in Belfast and what's happening in Stormont, but what's the Taoiseach up to, and what's the Irish Parliament up to when it comes to, you know, trying to engineer what we assume Southern Ireland wants, which is a united Ireland with Northern Ireland as part of it?
Yes, it's very interesting. Consistently, the polls will show that people in the Republic of Ireland, the 26 counties, will want a united Ireland. But actually, when it comes to the practicality of that, there's less enthusiasm, certainly from the Taoiseach Leo Varadkar, from his deputy, who's actually from another party because they're in coalition, Micheál Martin, who's the Foreign Affairs Minister as well. But giving them a real run for their money is Sinn Féin. So Sinn Féin, of course, the biggest party in the Assembly behind me, but they're also a very big party in the Dáil, in the Irish Parliament as well, and they could make up the government or part of the government of the Republic of Ireland after the next election. And of course, their raison d'etre is to make sure there is a united Ireland. So if they're in power in both Northern Ireland in coalition and the Republic of Ireland, perhaps in coalition as well, will really, a referendum, both north and south, on the future of Northern Ireland would be something they'd really want to push. But, as the Belfast Agreement says, it's the consent of people in Northern Ireland itself that matters the most. Do they want a united Ireland or do they not? My sense is this is a way off, but certainly and especially in the last couple of years without Stormont up and running, the conversation has been a lot louder and a lot more forceful about a united Ireland.